Hello everyone! Nice to see you out there. I hope you and your families are all doing well and staying safe. My name is Lauren Bond, and I'm proud to say that I've been a member of the Berkeley Buddhist Temple my whole life. It's my pleasure to serve today as your co-host for the 71st annual and for the first time ever virtual Satsuki Bazaar and Arts Festival. I'm joined by a great guy who also grew up in the Berkeley Buddhist Temple, Michael Adachi. Man, I remember when he was just a little guy. Last year, the pandemic prevented us from holding the Satsuki, but we're back with this virtual show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy that bento. This year also marks the temple's 110th anniversary, so we'll be showing a portion of our outstanding history, including interviews with some of our Nisei movers and shakers. The history segment will follow the Satsuki's entertainment portion, so be sure to stick around. And I'm excited to say that my late Nana, Taya Oda, will also be a part of this segment. It'll be so nice to hear her voice again. Now Michael's going to tell you a little bit more about today's program. Take it away, Michael.
Welcome everyone. I can't see you, but it's great to have you all here at the virtual Satsuki Bazaar and Arts Festival. We've got a great program and lineup today. Headlining the entertainment is the Taiko master himself, Kenny Endo. We're really honored and excited to have Kenny perform today. We'll also have a performance by our temple's Gagaku group. Gagaku is really ancient Japanese music. It's a different and unique sound for sure. We'll also feature our choir, the Sangha Singers, and you'll meet our outstanding junior YBA members and cute Dharma school kids. And what's an online event like this without donations? You'll see a link and a QR code at the top of your screen. Super simple. Now, we want to introduce our supervising minister, Reverend Keiro, who has a welcome message. Reverend Kuwahara has been the supervising minister of the Berkeley Buddhist Temple since 2018. Reverend Kuwahara is also the supervising minister of the Buddhist Temple of Marin and is the program director of the Jodo Shinshu International Office.
Hello, my name is Kiyonobu Kuwahara. I'm a minister of Berkeley Buddhist Temple. I'd like to welcome everyone to our virtual Satsuki Bazaar and Arts Festival. This is the 71st year of Satsuki Bazaar, which began by our Carol Sangha members, and it has become a popular tradition over the years. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have this event online this year. But thanks to the great efforts of the committee, Kenny Endo, and all the members who support this event, I'm sure you will have a great time this evening. Again, welcome, and please enjoy our 2021 virtual Satsuki Bazaar Arts Festival.
Thank you, Kuwahara-sensei, for that warm greeting. Now we'd like to give you a sense of the history of the Satsuki, which began 71 years ago with a group of Berkeley Temple members and Cal students. It's become a go-to event held the weekend before Memorial Day, drawing people from throughout the Bay Area for great entertainers and delicious handcrafted Japanese foods. Man, I miss it. Here are some wonderful interviews and stories about past Satsukis and all our favorite parts of the event.
Do you have any special recollections of the bazaar?
Oh yeah, we started it. We said, well, what are we going to have? And there was this temple, and then there was the dormitory next door, and then in the back they had a little parsonage for the reverend to stay. And so along the side there, everybody made it at home. We made osushi and chicken fries and things like. We didn't have much variety, but that was our first bazaar.
So what was the reason why you started in May?
Because May was the least of the religious days in May, I think, or something.
Did it have to do with the students' schedules where they could help?
No, it was just the Fujinkai and the men. And actually, we didn't have much to offer them because a lot of the Japanese foods were not available. So we made do with mazegohan sushi that had just carrots and something that you buy at the no takenoko yet or anything like that. So it was poor food, but the fact that we called it osushi, I think everybody enjoyed it.
I used to make manju, kurimanju, and I started out making about 500 one year. Then it increased, and we never had enough, and so it was, I think the last count was about 700 or 800 each year for the bazaar, and that was never enough. But in the meantime, Yuki Otake and several others learned how to make manju, and I think that's what's being done now. She makes a beautiful kuri manju, all uniform, and mine used to be big and small and sort of lopsided, but she does a beautiful job on the kuri manju, and I'm very proud of her.
Well, I bring that up because my husband and I inherited making that tsukemono from you.
Oh, I did that too.
Your recipe
Yeah,
was delicious.
that's true. I did that too.
Yeah, do you recall that?
Yes.
Yeah, and we made that for several years. And
Beginning the
it
tub.
was it was your recipe, and it was very
Oh, really?
The one that made Takeda make it was
yeah.
making
She
it.
inherited from us.
Wow,
I
you were
forgot
the-
about that.
You were the tsukemono queen, huh?
Well, sounds like that.
God, you look back in those pictures, they're parents of those who are in the picture that are probably silent contributors who put in a lot of work. And you see it in the bazaar time. Gosh, some of those ladies I see at the Japanese services for the East Bay or something, helping out in the kitchens. And there's a spirit that's still alive. That's good. We lost a lot of that in our Issei parents, but there's a carry-on factor that's still very good.
Wow, those are some great stories about the history of the Satsuki Bazaar and Arts Festival. Now, here's our headliner, Kenny Endo, who's been part of the Satsuki tradition for about 15 years. Kenny will now say a few words and introduce his first performance called Yume no Pahu. Enjoy!
Hello, my name is Kenny Endo. The Satsuki Festival is one of my favorite places to play because of the great community spirit, great food, wonderful people. The Berkeley Buddhist Temple has been very supportive of my work over the years, and I really appreciate it. Tonight, we're going to perform Yume no Pahu. This is a duet performance with Hiromitsu Agatsuma on shamisen and myself. I dedicate this piece to the native people of Hawaii in support of their struggle for control of their land, their culture, and their destiny. Please enjoy Yume no Pahu.
awesome performance. Thank you, Kenny. Now we're honored to have another superstar, Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto, who was the minister of our temple from 2005 to 2015 and is now the president of the Institute of Buddhist Studies. They're right next door to our temple at the Buddhist Churches of America's Jodo Shinshu Center. Reverend Dr. Matsumoto is going to tell us a little bit about the unique history of the Berkeley Buddhist Temple.
Hello, my name is David Matsumoto, and I would like to offer a brief look at the history of the Berkeley Buddhist Temple. We begin in the late 19th century with the influx of persons immigrating to America from Japan. It didn't take long for the young laborers to realize that their spiritual lives were in need of sustenance. So in 1899, the Honganji dispatched 2 missionaries to the US to address the spiritual needs of the young Issei. This would be the official start of the North American Buddhist mission, which would evolve into the Buddhist Churches of America. Later, in 1911, 73 young people in Berkeley gathered at the Old Fellows Hotel to form the Young Men's Buddhist Association. This was the beginning of the Berkeley Buddhist Temple. The Berkeley Buddhist Fujinkai began 3 years later, and the temple welcomed its first resident minister in 1919. 2 years later, a building at 2121 Channing Way was purchased and dedicated as the new Hondo of the Berkeley Buddhist Temple. The Berkeley Temple blossomed during the 1930s and 40s. A Sunday school, sports activities, and Nisei youth groups led to the development of more English language materials, even as a Japanese language school operated at the temple. However, temple life changed entirely with Executive Order 9066. In February 1942, all persons of Japanese ancestry were told to report to assembly centers for removal from the West Coast. Shortly thereafter, all Berkeley Buddhist Temple activities came to an abrupt halt. Temple members were evacuated, sent to assembly centers, and then confined to relocation camps. When the government finally rescinded the exclusion order in 1945, people were given $25 and a train ticket home to try to rebuild their lives. Berkeley Temple members immediately helped each other get readjusted to normal life. For over a year, the temple building and its dormitory served as a hostel, community center, and place of religious refuge for returning evacuees and students. Eventually, the dormitory housed college students again, and they launched the renowned Berkeley YBA. The temple was also the gathering place for the new Berkeley Choir, created in 1946. In 1949, BCA began conducting study classes in Berkeley. Classes would often be taught by renowned Buddhist scholars, and many young people came to the temple to study Buddhism. The classes were later formalized as the BCA Buddhist Study Center, and that center would eventually become the Institute of Buddhist Studies. In the 1950s, a decision was made to enlarge the facilities for temple and study center activities. Construction of a new hondo, social hall, and dormitory was completed in 1955. In the simple temple altar was enshrined a serene image of Amida Buddha as the Gohonzon, the central object of reverence. The Berkeley Sangha had a new spiritual home and Dharma center. During this period, the Berkeley YBA was involved in 2 groundbreaking achievements: the Berkeley Bussei publication and the Satsuki Bazaar. The Berkeley Bussei began as a YBA newsletter, but eventually placed itself at the forefront of serious explorations of Buddhist thought and culture. Since its inception, the Satsuki Bazaar has been held annually in May. This temple's virtual Satsuki Bazaar and Arts Festival is a fine example of the vibrancy of the Berkeley Sangha, which has, throughout its history, been able to overcome all obstacles and flourish as a Nembutsu community. Today, our temple welcomes people from all walks of life ethnic and religious backgrounds, lifestyles, and points of view. Our Buddhist services and classes are complemented by a dynamic Dharma school, sports programs, cultural and social activities, and community service programs that enable the Berkeley Buddhist Temple to be an active member of the greater community, extending our hands to those in need. As we now reflect upon our temple's 110-year history, we cannot help but have a deep sense of gratitude and joy for the people, events, and actions that have enabled it to thrive as a living Nembutsu community. And now, with that history as a foundation, our Sangha is well positioned to move on toward a bright future imbued with harmony, peace, and freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Matsumoto, for your kind comments about the temple. It's so wonderful to have you part of this program. You're in for a treat, a Berkeley Temple treat. In the 1950s and 60s, the Berkeley Buddhist Temple was known throughout the Buddhist churches of America for its choir. Many of the gathas, or songs, were composed right here. To this day, the gathas continue to be heard at many Buddhist temples across the country. Here are the Berkeley Buddhist Temple's Sangha Singers, who will perform a special song called Home to the Light and Life, written by D.I. Lewis. During this song, we'll show photos of our Dharma School students.
It's time to come on home. Time to come on home. Time to come on home. Home to the light and light. Home to the light and light. It's time to come on home. To the light and light. It's time to come on home. Time to come on home. It's time to come on home. Home to the light and light. The power of compassion, the power of your love, that will never stand tall. Come join your family. Come join your family. From all the faraway lands. It's time to come on home. To the light and light. It's time to come on home. Favorite Buddha land. Your favorite Buddha land resides in your heart. Resides in your heart. Like your shining light. Like your shining light. It's time to come on home. To the light and light. It's time to come on home. It's time to come on home. To the light and light. Inspired in your practice, virtue, peace is joy awaken. Bodhisattvas have vowed to spread the primal vow. To spread the primal vow. Don't rest now, don't you rest. Don't rest now, don't you rest. It's time to come on home. To the light and light. It's time to come on home. Time to come on home. It's time to come on home. Home to the light and light. It's time to come on home. It's time to come on home. Home to the light and life.
Thank you, Sangha Singers. Your voices always bring me joy. Now for a brief taste of some ancient Japanese music, Gagaku, performed by some other temple members. Gagaku is the oldest form of orchestral music known in the world. It consists of influences from many cultures along the Silk Road, Tang Dynasty China, and Vietnam, and came to Japan from Korea in the 5th century, where it eventually became part of the Japanese Buddhist ritual. Gagaku came to the United States as early as 1910, where it was practiced at our Jodo Shinshu temples. But with World War II, almost everything associated with Japanese culture was either destroyed or hidden away, including musical instruments. In 1969, a couple of Gagaku instruments were discovered at the former building of the Los Angeles Honpa Honganji Buddhist Temple during the temple's move to its new site in Little Tokyo. These instruments were given to the Kinara Gagaku group at the Senshin Buddhist Temple in Los Angeles, who were at that time reestablishing Gagaku. The Northern California Gagaku group began at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple in 2009 with the encouragement of Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto. Now, we'll have a brief explanation of each Gagaku instrument by each musician.
My name is David Ushijima with the Berkeley Buddhist Temple, and our group at the temple is called the Northern California Gagaku Group. It was founded in 2009 under the guidance of Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto. And originally, I learned Gagaku at the Institute of Buddhist Studies back in the 80s. At that time, that we had a teacher who came from Japan who was part of the Imperial Household musicians group. His name was Togi Sensei, Suenobu Togi. We had a chance to learn from him because Reverend Kusada, who was the head of IBS, brought him to Berkeley once a month, and I had the fortune to meet him and be introduced to the ryuteki. So this is a ryuteki, which is translated as dragon flute. It has 7 holes. It's made out of bamboo and wrapped in bark. And it's one of the most ancient instruments, part of the Gagaku orchestra. And it usually plays the melody along with the hichiriki, which you'll meet later. So I'll play a short piece for you, and you can hear the sound. Okay.
My name is Suki O'Kane, and I play the kako. The kako is a small drum with a leather head, and it's played by these slender sticks called bashi.
My name is Edward Shocker. I've been playing Gagaku since 2005 at Hikawa Jinja in Tokyo, Japan. I play the hichiriki, which is a double reed wind instrument in the Gagaku orchestra. This part is made of bamboo, and it's wound up with a birch vine. This part is the actual reed, which is basically a piece of cane that with fire is made to be smaller here and smushed on this side, and then round on this side, which is the part that you put into the instrument. Hichiriki is one of the main instruments of the Gagaku group. It plays the melody, and it's known for what's called embai, which is a sliding in and out of notes, and I'll play a little bit for you right now.
My name is Pam Matsuoka, and I started learning Gagaku in the late 70s with the Senshin Buddhist Temple's Kinara Gagaku group. And we were learning from Suenobu Togi Sensei, who was teaching at UCLA at the time. The instrument that I play is the sho, or ho sho. Ho means phoenix or celestial bird, and this is the bird that's also seen in the artwork of traditional Buddhist works. And they call it a celestial bird because of the shape of the bamboo pipes, which looks like a folded wing. It has 17 bamboo pipes with holes at the bottom and one mouthpiece. And the way to play it is to breathe in and out. It was also the precursor of the harmonica. And apparently it was in existence over 2,200 years ago. I'll play a few chords.
Thank you, Gagaku musicians, for that performance. The history of Gagaku and how it was reestablished in the United States was really interesting. Imagine finding two old Gagaku instruments during the LA Betsuin's move to its new building. Amazing! Now, I'm really pleased to introduce our next individual. She was our minister from 2015 to 2017, and we're honored that she's part of the program today. Welcome, Reverend Candace Shibata, resident minister of the Buddhist Church of Stockton. She's also the supervising minister of the Buddhist Church of Lodi and the Walnut Grove Buddhist Church.
Hi, everybody. My name is Reverend Candace Shibata. I had the pleasure and honor to serve as the resident minister of the Berkeley Buddhist Temple from 2015 until 2017. The Berkeley Buddhist Temple and all of its members will always have a special place in my heart because it was my very first temple assignment as a minister in the Buddhist Churches of America. I think one of my fondest memories is becoming so well acquainted with all of its members because they always made me feel included and like a part of their family. I'll always cherish my time at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple and wish all of the members well and hope you enjoy today's program. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Shibata. It's so good to see you again, and we're honored to have you be part of our bazaar. Now I want to welcome back our wonderful minister, Reverend Kiyonobu Kuwahara. He'll speak about what makes the Berkeley Buddhist Temple special.
As you have heard in Reverend Dr. Matsumoto's talk, BBT has a long history. This current building is over 60 years old, but it is really well maintained. I can tell how important this place is for our temple members. Once you enter the Hondo main hall, this beautiful and then fine statue of Amida Buddha welcomes us. Not only the temple building and then Amida Buddha statue, but I would say our congregation is another great treasure. Welcoming and inclusive atmosphere created by the BBT Sangha members is quite special. Using this wonderful facility in the presence of beautiful statue of Amida Buddha, and then with such nice members, Berkeley Buddhist Temple observes weekly Sunday service. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our Sunday service is currently on YouTube. But since it is on YouTube now, people can join our service from any place in the world. So please check Berkeley Buddhist Temple on YouTube and please subscribe it if you like it. We also have a Facebook page where you can get event and other information. So please check Berkeley Buddhist Temple on Facebook and then follow us, okay? Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have had a lot of difficulties and challenges since last year. However, thanks to the generous support from our temple members and community, and the great leadership of the temple president and board members, we could deal with those difficulties, challenges, and even develop many wonderful programs and then event, such as like a togetherness campaign, last year, and then Keiro package project, and Dharma school kids, they send letters to senior members, and then we had a healing moment, planned by a blend committee, and then Alan's cooking class, and then Dharma online study session, right? We have so many wonderful programs. As a Jodo Shinshu priest, I do believe that the teaching of Shinran Shonin and the wisdom of Amida Buddha as a valuable guidance for all human beings in the world. We do need such spiritual guidance all the more for the current social situations and challenges. Berkeley Buddhist Temple will continue to strive to develop programs and events so that our temple members and people in the world will receive great benefit and live a life of joy.
Thank you, Reverend Kuwahara. you're right about the temple members being so welcoming. We can't wait till we're all back in the temple. And now, performing again, are Sangha Singers. They'll perform Amida's Guide to Life by B.J. Soriano, a stand-up ukulele player and well-known Buddhist composer in Hawaii. We've also got a photo tribute of our Keiro, or senior members. Enjoy!
As I reflect my daily path of where my life will lead, I recall Amida's words, which seem to comfort me. Though the world is filled with so much fear and strife, I always try to be aware of Amida's Guide to Life. With mindfulness, compassion, Amida's guiding ways, shown to every living thing we come across each day. Kindness and with gentleness, we work to do what's right, to always try to be aware of Amida's Guide to Life. To always try to be aware of Amida's Guide to Life.
The Berkeley Junior YBA has been a vital part of the temple for a long time, and it's so wonderful seeing and hearing our new generation of leaders grow up. Here's a brief presentation by two past Junior YBA presidents, Charlene Tonai Din and Noelle McGuire. Take it away, ladies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Noelle McGuire.
And I'm Charlene Tonai Din, and we are
the Berkeley Buddhist Temple JYBA Presidents of the Past.
We are so happy to be here virtually with you to share a bit about JYBA. We will talk about what the organization has meant to us and how it has contributed to who we are today.
For those of you who may be unfamiliar with the organization, JYBA stands for the Junior Young Buddhist Association. Our Berkeley Sangha chapter connects with hundreds of fellow young Buddhists across the Buddhist churches of America to learn more about Jodo Shinshu Buddhism and make lifelong friendships.
JYBA not only gave me the opportunity to strengthen the bonds with temple friends whom I grew up with and plan to grow old with, but also introduced me to friends from all over the western half of the country. Spending time with these friends at JYBA retreats, conference workshops, dances, sports, tournaments, and Obon festivals made us closer. And knowing that I had friends I could talk to and hang out with at all these occasions made me feel welcomed and comfortable.
The creation of meaningful relationships does not stop with just getting to know our fellow young Buddhists. JYBA gives people the opportunity to connect with the surrounding community as a whole through various volunteer events throughout the year. Whether it be fundraising at shave ice stands at JSA events or spending time at a local food bank, JYBA allows us to get involved and to make a difference. This program also gives youth the opportunity to form close connections with ministers throughout the BCA. For example, during my time in JYBA, I was able to not only create meaningful relationships with ministers from all over the Bay Area, but formed particularly special bonds with our very own senseis at Berkeley Buddhist Temple. I'm so grateful for all of the time, leadership, and support we received throughout the years. From working together to create conference talent show videos, to making memories at JYBA sleepovers, these are all moments that I will hold close to my heart for the rest of my life.
being a part of JYBA allowed me to explore and practice the teachings I learned in temple. As a high school student, I believe learning about compassion, awareness, interconnectedness, impermanence, and self-reflection helped me shape the values and actions I take today. They also led me to question what I could do as a young Buddhist in the height of social justice movements. With the guidance and leadership of Tara, a minister's assistant at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple, and along with a handful of other Sangha members, 2 of them my friends from JYBA, we formed the BLEND Committee. BLEND stands for Buddhist Living in Equity and Non-Discrimination. Through our online meetings, we discuss and implement action steps to make the temple a more inviting and safe place by learning and growing with our Sangha to continually work towards wisdom and expressing compassion for all people as they are. Going to college and doing just about everything online has definitely given me the unique opportunity to stay more involved with the temple, which I'm really grateful for. That being said, even when things go back to being in person, and for years down the line, I know that the Dharma will always be a part of me and continue guiding me. In fact, I believe the teachings of interconnectedness I learned at Temple were very influential in my decision to major in environmental science at UCLA. All that is to say that I am very grateful to have been brought up in Temple, involved in JYBA, and surrounded by supportive Sangha members all over the nation.
For me, participating in JYBA allowed me to not only develop a deeper understanding of the Dharma, but has also given me what I consider to be a second home. JYBA and the greater Buddhist community has provided a safe space in which I know I will always be welcome and accepted. The people I met from this program have played an instrumental role in my life, teaching me that no matter where we come from or how old we are all interconnected and are united by the teachings of the Dharma. As we continue to face challenges and hardship brought on by the global pandemic, I've come to realize the true importance of community support, compassion, and understanding. As I prepare to complete my master's degree in health and strategic communication from Chapman University, I hold these teachings close to me as I fight for cultural and socioeconomic equality in the medical system. Just as Charlene said, words cannot express how grateful I am to have grown up as a part of the Berkeley Buddhist Temple and to have experienced all of the opportunities that JYBA provided to me. It is because of the support of our Sangha and the Buddhist community that I have become the person that I am today.
We are so grateful to have had the opportunity to be here today and to share some of our memories with you.
Thank you so much for being a part of our community and for supporting the Berkeley Buddhist Temple.
Stay safe
and stay well.
Thank you to the Junior YBA members. They're awesome. Has everyone out there remembered to donate? Our next segment is super cute. It's a stop action of a doll waking up to go to Dharma school. And after that is a show by our current Dharma school students holding up the recent Hanamatsuri artwork and origami.
Pumpy, what is it? I should probably get up either way. I have to do Sunday school today. Puppy, don't walk away. Okay, I'm getting out. I should probably brush my hair and stuff, but I should probably get to Sunday school. I slept in too late. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
Today is today, yesterday is gone. Today is today, what day are you looking for? Today is today.
man, these Dharma school students. Talk about talent out there. Now, let's get ready for another special performance from Kenny Endo. This one is called Spirit of Rice.
For the second piece tonight, we'd like to perform Spirit of Rice. This is a performance from my 40-year anniversary concert at the Hawaii Theater in Honolulu, Hawaii. It features 8 amazing guest artists doing an 8-bar solo each. So please enjoy Spirit of Rice, and this is dedicated to everyone at Satsuki 2021. Thank you.
Well, that wraps things up for this year's Satsuki Bazaar and Arts Festival. Lauren, I had a great time co-hosting with you. We hope you all had a fantastic time and learned something about our wonderful Berkeley Buddhist Temple. And please remember to donate. Thank you so much.
I had such a great time co-hosting the Satsuki this year. And thank you, Michael, for being with me every step of the way. Before I introduce someone else, I want to remind all of you out there that following the Satsuki will be our history segment about our 110th anniversary, featuring interviews with many of our Nisei members and such great and interesting stories of incredible work and perseverance. Please don't miss it. And now I'd like to introduce Temple Treasurer and Fundraising Committee Chair, Takashi Nikaido, who would like to say a few words of thanks.
Good evening. My name is Takashi Nikaido, Treasurer of the Berkeley Buddhist Temple and Chair of the Fundraising Committee. On behalf of the committee, I thank you for attending our virtual bazaar this evening and hope you truly enjoyed watching. Many thanks to those who contributed. To Kenny Endo for allowing us to broadcast his performance. To those from our Sangha and their families for interviews with reflections on our bazaar and history. To our Gagaku group and Sangha Singers for their performances. To the Reverends Matsumoto, Shibata, and Kuwahara for your thoughts. To the Dharma School for your wonderful videos, and to our former Junior YBA presidents for providing us insight into the Junior YBA program. To our MCs, Michael Adachi and Lauren Bond, thank you for shepherding us this evening. As you know, a portion of the proceeds from the purchase of bento was used to provide bento for all of our Keiro members. Thanks to Mimi Kagehiro and Robin McGuire, and to all the drivers for coordinating and delivering all of those meals. Thanks to Vernon Kato, Antonia Glenn, and Patrick Glenn for helping to edit. And thanks to Bradley Menda and Myron Jung for assisting with the technical logistics to broadcast. Words are not adequate in describing my wishes of gratitude to the committee that assisted in creating this event. Thanks to Dennis Sakurai, Ron Hiraga, Pam Matsuoka, John Kawamoto, Robin McGuire, and especially to Karen Kato, who really led us through this process. This committee was able to truly produce something special. As a committee, we're always looking for new ideas for fundraising and welcome any of you from our Sangha to contribute your thoughts and efforts. And please, don't forget that you can donate anytime to the Berkeley Buddhist Temple by going to berkeleybuddhisttemple.org and clicking on Support in the upper right of the screen. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Good night.
sincerely enjoyed the work with the church. I don't know that I made any mark in the temple activities or the operation, but I think that the Fujinkai, we tried to do what the temple couldn't do by themselves. The Fujinkai was always there, any event.
Tana Sensei was here a long time, and I think he built the foundation for this temple, more or less, personality-wise, he drew a lot of the younger people, I think. First time I knew the people in the Berkeley Buddhist Temple was when there was a job. The boys had a dorm where there were about 10 boys, and I think they got kind of tired of their own cooking, so they sent out a call for a cook. And some of my friends that knew that I loved to cook said, well, Tai, are you interested in taking that job? And as I was telling Emiko, just thinking back, the gall of me that only cooked for a family of 4, accepting a position cooking for 10 boys, I thought, my gosh, I don't think I could do that now, but I did apply, and they said, oh, they were happy. They says, oh, yeah, you cook. So I started when I was beginning of my senior year, in 1941. And so I cooked for these 10 boys, and they were very nice. One of them would always go with me down to the Safeway, which is now the Toyota company, and we'd buy the grocery, and they'd reluctantly push the cart behind me, looking very embarrassed all the time, and we would come back to the dorm, and I would cook.
And I think it's because my older sister married Reverend Nobuo Matsumoto of the Higashi Honganchi here in Hira, and I presume because of that, that's how my parents met Matsuuras. I'm not too sure. But I kind of recall that Lily was going around with my sister Kaoru. They were good friends. And this is how, when they came up here, my parents knew the Matsuura family, and I met Lily and Keiro, Jane, and Mary, for it. And they were living on Delaware, I think. Or one other street, but
Street name, I'm not sure of the street name.
And they would have study classes there. Yes. Francisco, yeah. And so I think my wife and I, we went there. Oh, did I mention I got married?
Yeah, okay. In the meantime, you got married.
Yeah, 1951. And that's we'd go there for study classes. And at that time, the church was the old black shingle church. And upstairs was the girls' dormitory. Downstairs was the church. And next door was a house. And the house housed the Reverend Imamura family. And there's another one another house that was a boys' dorm. I don't know, we used to, on Saturday nights, they'd be playing poker and we'd go over there, a few of us from the, and we'd be playing.
I've been associated with the Berkeley Buddhist Temple since I was 8 years old. I was born in Oakland in 1926, and our family grew from myself, which I'm the oldest child, and I had one brother and 2 sisters. And when our family got to be 6, my father moved us from Oakland to Berkeley. And in Berkeley, under the influence of Hodge's father, Oda, Mr. Oda convinced my father that us 4 should attend Sunday school. At that time, we called Sunday school and not Dharma school. The name Dharma school came when I was adopted, I think, right after the war. But what I mean is World War II. Anyhow, so I must have been about 8 or 9 when I was a member of the Sunday school here at Berkeley. And my brothers and sisters were also part of the Sunday school.
We got married in 41. And so then, because he said, well, you have no place to go because you have no parents or no relatives except the Nippon Laundry people. So he said, we better get married. So we were the last people that got married in the Berkeley Temple before evacuation. So after we got married, we closed up the altar and finished locking all the doors. And so then he said, right after the wedding, he said, do you mind going to the real estate office with me? So I says, all right. So I said, I don't want to go into the office, so I'll wait in the car outside. It was Roby's realty company. And so I waited and waited and waited, and then pretty soon the Roby lady, Mrs. Roby, came out and said, oh, you poor dear, I thought you said you just got married. Do come in. So it was 3 hours because Mr. Haraguchi and Hike and Mr. Kozakura had to set up the real estate to take care of this temple. And that was the first thing I knew about their association with the temple. So, and Hike was only 26, but he helped a lot with the temple. And so it's everything I tell you about the temple at that time would be hearsay because the mother and Hike used to talk about people, but that was it. So I spent my time helping Hike clear away the temple things and taking them all down to the basement and storing it. And then the day after we were married, the horns were honking at 6 o'clock in the morning, and Hike would run out and says, oh my God, they're bringing those things to be put away in the basement. So that's the story of my marriage the next day. So that's how I got involved with the temple.
There was a lot of sacrifice among members during that time, especially after the war, because there was a lot of discrimination at the time, maybe not as much as other parts of the country, but Certainly, we are not immune to it. But there are strong members at that time that kept the church going. And there are other ministers that this is before Reverend Imamura, that helped bring this church to where it is today. Jane would always see to it that everyone had a good time here. Reverend would oftentimes be kind of off in an intellectual level, but his sermons and his teachings were very strong and would be pretty well understood by the congregation at the time. I taught Sunday school for a little bit of a time, but I still hear students that say, I remember Reverend Imamura's lectures and sermons on this or that. So I would say both of them just in the field of the Buddhist family were very strong, very good, and not loud, but always there.
Or she was present when Reverend was a temple minister here and very active, established a choir, and the women's group became, I think, stronger because of Jane's direction. She had a personality that reached out to everyone. There was something about Jane that endeared her to all of us.
Now, when I met Jane Imamura, she was very encouraging, especially to people in the arts. She herself being an accomplished pianist, choir director, and all that. And so she asked me to join the choir. And I tried to convince her that I do not sing. And but in one of the photos that I have that I think was taken by Isao Tanaka, I am there in the choir, dressed in a robe just like the other singers, and I can't understand why I'm in the choir. I didn't sing then, and I don't sing now. But what I did was write a narrative which threaded the songs that the choir sang at performances, and at one time this was recorded, and I had written this narrative titled Mako Goes to Sunday School. And in the recording, I read the narration. Now it's a 12-inch disc. I had it one time, but I can't seem to find it. But I would think it's a collector's item. If you have it, hang on to it.
He was the janitor for the house, for this whole temple. He did janitor work, the printing. She just devoted her whole life to this.
And in between led the choir.
Yes, the choir. That was her joy. That was a reward for her, for doing all this, so she'd have a choir, because that was something that she really wanted for this temple. So I think the Imamuras as a husband and wife, they really did a lot.
He was the son of the well-known bishop of the Buddhist church in Hawaii. And he was born in Hawaii, and I think he was treated as an obochan, we say in Japanese. In fact, he enrolled at Keiro University in Japan,
very prestigious,
which is for a lot of children of, obochan type of people. Anyway, he after graduating Keio, he came back, and I don't remember the details so much, but right before the war, Mrs. Matsura or somebody had encouraged Jane Imamura to marry him. And so they got married right before the war and evacuation. And I believe Tai Oda, who was a prominent member of the church, and Haik Oda had stood as a witness to their wedding ceremony. At least that's what Tai Oda tells me. Anyway, then he was assigned to when they got married, they were in Gila River Camp 2. We call it Butte Camp. I didn't know them then because I was in Camp 1. And then when the war ended, they landed up in Southern California, a Senshin Buddhist church, I believe it was, where they ran a hostel of returning Japanese evacuees. I think Jane Imamura's book will tell all this. And then he was assigned up here to the Berkeley Buddhist Church in I believe it was 47, 48. And he was a very quiet man. And non-confronting type of individual. And mostly pensive, I'd say, seemed to be in deep thoughts all the time. Eventually, when the church offered him the salary of $50 a month, they asked him church couldn't offer to pay anymore because most of the people that returning at that time from camp were, a lot of them, members didn't have any jobs, they were gardeners or whatever. So they asked him with 4 kids, they asked him to secure a job outside. So he became a janitor for a while at one of the professors, University of California professor's house. Then he eventually played a vital role in the anthropology museum at the University of California. But that's about all I could say, I guess.
I was at the choir, and they had a very good, strong study group about that time involving what was now or then called the Beat Generation Group. Included Gary Snyder, who is, as a poet, and then there was several of his friends. I should remember their names, but and there were also many Japanese professors, teachers that came over here, and I think possibly the mother of this church at that group was not only Jane, but her mother. We call her Bachan, but she is Mrs. Matsura to a lot of friends, not only locally, but throughout California. And she and Jane were very hospitable to a lot of these. Well, it was then many Hakushins that got interested in Buddhism, because not only the university but the movement in Berkeley was pretty strong at the time.
So the study.
Bishop Shigefuji would be here often, as were many various visiting professors, and gosh, I think some names, Alex Wayman, and also the British author, his name escapes me, but he was very strong in getting together a group that would meet after church and just start talking. And then gradually this group went to, pretty much on every Sunday, would go to Mrs. Matsura's house on Francisco Street, and the group would continue their talking in group. And from that group, gosh, that was started the discussion group. And of course, Reverend Imamura and Jane and Mary was all involved. Lily, strong members for a discussion group. And from that group was sort of the birth of what we would consider the study group, because of the interest from all over and the writings. We got involved in what we call, it was an outsource from the bulletin, the church bulletin, but it was the Berkeley, what we call the Berkeley Butsu, and it was a publication that was had many contributors, all volunteer, and they were strong contributors to the Berkeley Butsu. And then we had our own staff editors, of which I think I remember now because of Lily's passing recently. She was a very strong and determined and principled person who helped write the Berkeley Butsu year after year. Lily, yeah. And she was the right-hand person for Reverend Imamura and the group. There were many contributors, and let's see, I remember, Hitoshi was a strong member at that time. Hitoshi Tsufura, yeah. He was always at the right time, the right person, and stay behind the limelight, more or less.
Yeah.
But he was, as was Lily, because she was very strong, and I think she was an English major at Cal. Also, of course, her background's very determined. By the way, her background is, of course, from a minister's family, because her father, along with Mary, Jane, and my wife, Keiro, their father, Reverend Issei Matsura, was a minister that came over from Japan, was first, I think, placed in Guadalupe, California, if not Fresno. And during the war, he was taken out and went to various camps. But his belief, or his mantra, whatever you want to call it, in Buddhist teaching was so strong that it came and emanated from all the four sisters and George. George was the only boy in the family, to a point where whatever my wife Keiro does, I could almost see what kind of a man he was, just through her actions and sayings, and as was Mrs. Matsura Bachan. She was always namanda, namanda, and very thankful, thinking of others all the time, as I recall, and that comes through on the family, and then happens on all the things that happen on a daily basis.
We had a lot of discussion groups going on, and eventually in the 50s we had people like the Beat Generation group, like people like Gary Snyder, Jack Kerouac, who most of the people, literary people, recognize as the author of On the Road and Dharma Bums type of thing. They would drop by here and lead discussion groups, and it made it interesting in terms of learning Buddhism and its philosophy. At one point, I believe I was editor. Anyway, we collected a lot of items from different people, scholars, and put it together. Initially, it was a social magazine. It was mimeographed, and I think I brought some copies to Reverend Matsumoto. They were mimeographed that showed the activities of the YBA and largely social. They became more professional, so to say, when they went to printing at a printer, and they had hardly any social activities and more articles on Buddhism, academic, philosophy, this sort of thing. So that's how I eventually ended up, and some of the issues, later issues. Thought it would be nice for most of the Buddhist Buddhists to be aware of the deep philosophical import of Buddhism. And so in those days there was an academy called Asian Academy, which was founded by a philanthropist in San Francisco who was an exporter-importer, and he had secured some scholars from Asia. One was a Hindu named Haridas Chowdhury, and he had Alan Watts, who was already living in the Bay Area, and Dr. Spiegelberg, who was from Stanford, who was, I believe, I think his specialty was Tibetan Buddhism, I'm not sure. But anyway, we secured the services of Haridas Chowdhury to give a background of Hinduism, and because after all, India and Hinduism was a background of Buddha and Buddhism. Then decided, well, we'll also have Alan Watts to explain about Buddhism as we know it, and most familiar to most of the Caucasian people in the United States, which is more like a Zen approach to the thing. And then they decided also to end it up with Shinshu. We had some of the Nisei ministers like Reverend Tsunoda and Reverend Kumata and Reverend Tsuji to speak on Shinshu Buddhism. And that attracted a lot of people, and I have a photograph of it, which I had shown you. And it included, people like Dr. Lessing, who was a world-renowned Tibetan scholar at the University of California, and they all was part of that seminar. And we thought that probably encouraged a lot of future seminars to come. When they decided to build a new temple and call it, in addition to the Berkeley Buddhist Church, Institute of Buddhist Studies, I decided, well, we ought to try to get some financial help from outside sources like various Young Buddhist Association, Buddhist Church, because over the years the Berkeley Buddhist Church had nurtured a lot of Nisei Buddhists from different parts of California and the United States. So I went to and developed a brochure, a glossy brochure that I distributed to all the Buddhist churches and all the Young Buddhist Association and various Busse individuals requesting contributions of donations to help the Berkeley Buddhist Church build their new temple. And the total budget, I believe, was $85,000 then, which involved destroying the old men's dormitory and moving the old Buddhist church with the women's dormitory back where it is just today. And the brochure and plea for funds from outside sources resulted in about $20,000 that came in toward the $85,000 budget. And then the local Buddhist church members, I believe, pledged up to $35,000. So the rest was borrowed from the bank. That Berkeley had the most churches per capita population, the most cities, and the reason primarily was because they wanted, various religious organizations wanted to nurture future leaders who were university students or whatever. And so the same idea, I think, cropped up here at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple, where we had Nisei students from all over California and whatever, and they were to become the future. We concluded that the future leaders of the Buddhist churches or in their community. And so with that in mind, we try to promote these young Nisei students to learn Buddhism.
And I think from the time that Reverend Imamura was here, the sort of the seed, this kind of formed the seed for the study center, the need for a study center. Being from Mrs. Matsura's house, the group grew, and then what Reverend Imamura visualized as a center started up on Channing Way, I think it is. Haste. Is it Haste? Yeah. And the group started there, and from Haste, finally, the Jodo Shinshu. As a matter of fact, the Jodo Shinshu started, this used to be, of course, the auto dealership, and it couldn't have been a better place than that.
And we started the fashion show here, and they had to show, their mothers had to show. It was an opportunity for the parents to show what they could make. So it was nice.
That was the Akimatsuri.
Akimatsuri with combination. And finally it became Akimatsuri. But first, I think it started out as a fashion show.
How many years did they do that fashion show?
Oh, quite some time. Everybody looked forward to it because it was something different from the bazaar, and individuals, you know, were able to show off what they were doing. So.
When was that held? Was it
in October?
Yeah, Akimatsuri. It was a kind of combination, and it turned into Akimatsuri, where they had people, other, not professionals, but you know, people that were in the business doing the music. And first, it started out with like a talent show, more or less.
But now that I look back on it, it's just quite an amazing thing. And all of the activities going on, and the building, of course, has been changed since 1955. Things are happening to the building, and I'm pleased that so many things are going on so well.
Well, as I said, it makes me very happy to see that the young people are taking over and not being forced to do it. They're volunteering their services, and they have that same feeling we had when we first came back. We said, oh, we got to help develop this. We got to work here. So I think that spirit is still within us, and I'm so happy. I think we have a wonderful group.